All right, we'll just wait. All right, so for this meeting, I'm pretty sure what they're going to talk about is this is basically where they talk about realtors that want to build housing and construction, and having the argument over how many units should be allocated for low income housing, what areas should be allowed to have units be rebuilt. Oftentimes, what that means is when you rebuild the units, you charge a premium for them, whereas otherwise, as they're sitting in their current state, you know, you can't justify an upcharge of 10x of a price. And so, looks like there's also a license application for interesting. Right on Fountain Ave, actually. 4878 Fountain Avenue. There's a marijuana store. I'm gonna pull that up. 4878 Fountain Ave. Okay. So this little shop here wants to get, pretty sure, let's see. Okay. So 4878. Because blue is there. So one of these. Yeah, this little corner store wants to be a marijuana dispensary. That's so funny. Hey, audit. Hey, Chanel. I was just explaining to people one of the items on the agenda is actually one of these small storefronts wants to get their marijuana license. It's a on the action items, it's item B. It's this one. 4878 Fountain Avenue. Oh, here we go. Cool. All right. That works. Go ahead and raise my hand. And now we wait. We got Coulter. I'm just taking a look at the agenda.
Hi, everyone. We are waiting for one or two more people here, and then we'll get started.
We got Jeff.
Hey everyone. I'm gonna give it a minute just for people to join and also to get set up.
You guys can hear me?
Yes.
See everybody else on the screen.
I feel like every time Jeff gets on, he's always having technical issues, man. You know, I'm kind of curious. I am curious on who we'll
I'm gonna
see.
get rolling. I'm gonna share the agenda. Can folks see the agenda?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, great.
Would you like me to start the recording?
Sure. Thank you, Coulter. Okay, we're calling the Plum East Hollywood Neighborhood Council Plum meeting to order. It's Monday, April 14th. It's about 7:03 p.m. And I'm guess I can do roll call. I'm here. Coulter's here.
Here.
Jeff is also here.
Yep.
And then I actually can't, if I'm sharing, I'm gonna have to stop for a second. So we do have on the agenda the public comment on non-agenda items. So it looks like we have two people whose hands are raised. Please only keep your hand up if you are requesting to speak on an item that has not been agendized. I am going to give me 1 second. I want to open my own notes for this, and then I will gradually give you each a minute to speak on a non-agendized item. Just give me 1 second. Uh, tabs open. Ugh, my drives. Okay, great. Okay, we're gonna start with Audit LA. I'm gonna promote you to panel. Once we confirm that you are able to speak, then, or sorry, I will promote you as a speaker, then we can actually hang on. I need to I don't have the ability to change their setting. What's going on? Coulter, can you assign me as the host?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there we go.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just want to remind, I know I spoke of it last time, that the surrounding neighbors, of Big Blue have been complaining a lot about excessive noise, very high decibel noise, and it seems like nobody's listening, is falling on deaf ears and maybe causing deaf ears. And so, as a neighborhood council, I hope that you would, I believe they've reached out to you as well, that you would take on the issues of sound, because I know that Scientology does not need to have a LAPD permit for their subwoofers and their live music, because they're exempt because of their church, but they're not blasting church music. So I just want you to be aware of that. Also, continued no to the street vacation that they're planning on applying for, and also to make sure now that we're getting into probably their endless things that is that it? Okay, I can't hear you. So,
You have about like 10 more seconds if you.
oh, okay. I just heard you interrupt. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it. And also just a reminder that you guys are entitled to know about street closure permits, and to make sure you did put in a letter for that the city would notify you, the Bureau of Street Services would notify you, and I hope that you're following through and making sure that they are, because you need to be aware for the thing. And also wanted to ask if there is going to be a bid meeting tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Since we have Jeff on, is there going to be a bid meeting tomorrow? Maybe we can just answer that while I'm.
Yep. Yes.
Great, thank you for answering that. Okay. I am going to move on to Henry.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, Henry. You should be able to speak now.
Hey, thank you. Good evening. I just wanted to follow up on the inquiry of the bid meeting. It's been an issue for the last quarter that the bid meetings either have not occurred and the link for joining are added and not working. Moving on from that, the neighborhood councils could greatly use a increase in revenue, and so could the overall city. In addition to some of the points that Audit mentioned, it behooves this neighborhood council to seriously write a CIS at the very least, or contact at least CD13 to verify, when we already know, but just to get him particularly on the record on the fact that L. Ron Hubbard Way is not a private street, and furthermore that it is in fact allowable to park there, and parking meters should in fact be installed. The fact of the matter is,
that's the end of the minute. Thank you. Okay. Jeff, maybe since we have a couple people asking about the bid, what is the best way for them to get that information again?
The agenda was posted on the website.
Okay. The website being ehbid.org, right?
ehbid.org.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move to Mona. Hi, Mona.
Good afternoon, good evening, thank you. Point of order, it's always been 2 minutes, not 1 minute, but okay, thank you. I'll try and talk fast. Two things. One, the neighbors were not notified or given information about the street closure coming up on on the 20th of April on L. Ron Hubbard Way. And so they are not in compliance with their permit. 2, there's been quite a few renovations for the 4-plexes and 6-plexes along L. Ron Hubbard in Catalina. And none of them, they're all older properties, but they definitely need to still be in compliance with FHA once their renovation starts. And I don't see anything coming into accessible units whatsoever. So that definitely needs to be looked at. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mona. I did want, I mean, Coulter, you know, I was out when this kind of discussion started happening, but maybe we can clarify for the folks here too. I know like the business committee has sort of moved into some like compliance related items. So some of these, especially as relating to like if individual organizations or like business owners are complying with city code, I believe has now moved to business building and safety committee. Is that right?
Basically no, but the public. So technically, this is supposed to fall under public health and safety. There's times where it can fall under business.
Okay.
I do think it'd be worth us having a discussion about where to put these items at an executive board meeting. So I think part of it is they're just kind of falling through the cracks
Okay.
if they don't cleanly fit into one committee. But I think it's a great question, and we should get it figured out.
And you're saying it might go to PHSS because of like the transportation related aspect. Is that why?
Yeah, I mean, basically, they're supposed to cover like everything around public infrastructure as long as it doesn't deal with the Department of Building and Safety. And then theoretically, if it's like a primarily like a business issue, business could do it as well, possibly. So again, we don't have like a clean spot to put it, but as of right now, I think technically it's under PHSS. That being said, you know, I've said for a long time that I thought PHSS has way too much on its plate, and it's never really been able to handle everything that's on its plate. And
Mhm.
so I do think it would make sense for us to, you know, make sure all this stuff is getting looked at by someone, whoever it is. So I think that warrants a discussion at a future executive board meeting.
Okay.
I think we can handle it here at the business committee,
No, Jeff.
these issues.
You mean Plum or?
No, I think
No, whatever the issues that they were talking about, I think we can handle it, take care of it at the business committee.
Definitely. I just don't want to overstep with Jack, because I don't want Jack to get upset thinking we're going over his head. So we just have to check with him first, which is why I think it would make sense.
Actually, Coulter, you know, going back 15 years, I've had those same kind of issues in the business committee in the past. So I would take it that if Jack thought it was his issue, I think he would be overstepping.
Interesting.
He would be overstepping. So being here for 15 years myself. So and that there was a precedent already that I've heard these kinds of issues in the past in the business committee. So if anybody thinks anybody's overstepping, it would be me.
Okay. Understood. We'll get it figured out then.
what is the typical meeting date again lately? It looks like first Tuesday of the month, right, is when business building and safety meets.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure, you know, I want to give folks who took the time on to get on the call who have complaints to know, like, you know, at least right now where we're thinking this will land so they can keep an eye out. Okay. So it sounds like Jeff is willing to take on some of these like especially like noise ordinance complaint related matters in the next business building and safety committee. So hopefully that's helpful for folks. Okay, I'm gonna switch then to back to the agenda. Give me a second. I have a hard time going back and forth between things. Okay. So we've finished public comment on non-agenda items. The following are some city letters of termination. I'm not really going to go through them, but we've received them from the city, and I thought that it would be helpful for people for me to provide them as a matter of just like public information. So these are items that the city has had partisans requested cap. Sorry, I am enabling captions for the webinar, so that just occurred. These are items that the city has reviewed and determined to be compliant with their regulations, and these relate to specific projects. And there's a little bit of a summary around the project itself as well as the address. So if folks are interested, you can go to the links in the agenda for more information about those projects and what the city has determined. Okay, the next thing I wanted to move to, sorry, I actually didn't mean to unshare that. Okay. Sorry, I clicked a link on accident. Okay, we're moving to item B, which is discussion and possible action regarding the type 10 annual license application, which is for a retail storefront commercial cannabis activity at 4878 Fountain Avenue. I am going to see if anyone from, I think it's Olympia LLC is here to discuss this item with us. And I'm going to go back to the list. I'm looking for maybe Levon Edibarian, or anyone who is part of that group. And I have a couple of folks whose hands are raised. I'm not sure if they are related to. Can you please lower your hand if you are not here on behalf of the applicant? Okay, it looks like Leo is the only person who has his hand raised. So I am going to maybe just allow you to talk to confirm that this is correct. Hi, Leo, you should be able to talk.
Stephanie, do you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, are you with Olympia LLC?
Yes, I'm part owner of Olympia LLC, located at 4878 Fountain Avenue,
Okay.
Los Angeles, California, 90029. My name is Levon. My last name is Edibarian.
Oh, great. Hi. Okay, you were the person who's emailing.
Yeah, I was on all the time, but I didn't know I had to raise my hand. I thought you were already seeing that
I know. It's a confusing system. Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you for coming tonight. And I think we had communicated with this via email, but it's a little tough for the timing of the DCR, the Department of Cannabis Regulation hearings, based on when they let us know that the application is pending versus when the actual hearings happen. So this is sort of the only Plum Committee hearing time that we can hear this item and still have time to take action if the committee would like. So thank you for making time, but this is sort of the only time that we could. So if you could sort of, typically there's a form we ask folks to fill out that I believe I sent. So maybe, if you want to give us a short presentation about your business, that would be helpful. I might also then refer to some of the questions and ask you to, give some more information for the group. But I might start by asking you to, I can give you, Coulter, how long do we usually give folks? Like 4 minutes, 5?
I think we were doing 5 before, but
okay. I'll set an alarm just for fairness, Leo. We typically give applicants 5 minutes to talk, but you don't have to take that whole time, but I will stop you.
Yeah, sure.
But why don't I'll let you.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, so we haven't opened yet. We started construction for the interior part of the site a few months ago, and we're about 90% done. We are hoping to open sometime in first week of May. Everything is in place as far as the business diagram, camera, security. We're going to have armed security from opening to closing from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. We have introduced ourselves to our neighbors. We're all on the same page as far as keeping the sidewalk clean at all times and communicating with each other if there's any issues that come up. And we're looking forward to our grand opening. I yield back.
Okay, thank you. Let me just check our form and see if there are questions here. I guess I did want to ask, so you applied for the annual type 10 license, is that correct?
Correct. So all of the license holders are transitioning from a temporary approval to the annual process for LADCR. And on May 1st, we have a CRC meeting for my annual license, correct? And also on April 16, in about 2 days, we have a comment section where community members can come out and leave comments for the proposed business.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I had thought based on our conversation with some of the other applicants that part of the annual license application was supposed to be that the cannabis license applicant was to reach out to the neighborhood council. Was that?
Yes, of course. Yes, that's correct. I've reached out to one moment. Let me just double check.
Not me.
No, it wasn't you. It was actually the president. One moment.
Chris?
So I reached out to, this is it, yeah. Christopher Martinez at easthollywood.net. I CC'd him. This was March 24th.
Okay, would you?
At 11:02 a.m. Also emailed in the same email.
Would you be
East Hollywood Neighborhood Council at easthollywood.net.
Is that a?
And I never got a response on that email. And then on a separate email,
yeah,
you emailed me 2 days ago. So did you receive my email?
Would you be so kind as to forward the email you originally sent to the email that to the thread that I had emailed you about just 2 days ago?
To your email?
Yes.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
I apologize that no one got back to you. I did not get a copy of that email. So
absolutely. We also have to include a copy of this email as proof that we have reached out. One of our team members reached out to offer to appear before neighborhood council. Right, so right. I've also sent this email to DCR and the commission, yep. Correct. But I will send this to you as soon as we get on. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how did you get that email? Because we are trying to develop a better system for flagging the pending cannabis licenses and connecting with the applicants earlier. So I'm just trying to figure out, how did you get Chris, or how were you provided the contact info for our council? Do you remember?
I actually researched it myself. I know that I'm in Council District 13, which is the East Hollywood Neighborhood Council. So I just pretty much Googled East Hollywood Neighborhood Council. And then I thought I had to actually reach the general email, which is the ehnc@easthollywood.net. But I CC'd just right off top the president. Because I actually thought he was going to be on board with us today, but now I see how it works. So I got it through the website, Stephanie.
Okay, thank you so much for explaining that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let me just check really quickly our typical intake list and see if there's anything else I wanted to do about.
I am also the neighborhood liaison for the project, so that's written on our window once we do our grand opening. So you could just get in touch with me, any of you, anytime you guys like.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I would like to know, can you explain sort of so you're going to be taking over the space that was formerly the what is it? Sorry, I'm trying to find that.
You mean the previous tenant?
Yes.
Yes, so we took over the lease on November 1st, 2024. There was previously I just got half of the unit. It was one full unit. It was a liquor store that was there for a very long time. That's all I know. That were there for a very long time, and I don't know why they couldn't stay more or any of that information. Yeah.
And then can you give us like a summary of like the range of products you're planning to provide and the hours of operation?
Yeah, so the Ranger party is just going to be hours of operation will be selling cannabis products only, as far as edibles goes, and then different kinds of strains we're going to have. Uh, at first, I don't think we're going to jump into clothing, brand clothing, but later on down the road, we will have clothing as well that relates to our products.
And then can you give us the hours of operation?
Sure, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Well, we have to get our last call is that by law we have to be shut down at 10. So like no one can walk in at 9:55 or 9:57 because that wouldn't be enough time for us to close out the sale. So 9:50 is where the door gets shut down, and then whoever is inside needs to get processed before 10 p.m. and close it out.
See. And then are you part of what's the official name of the store going to be, and are you going to be part of like a franchise location, or is this a one-off location?
This is currently a one-off location, and for now the store name is going to be Olympia.
Okay, got it. And then maybe would you mind providing your perhaps your email for the group here in case there's anyone who has a question later on that they would like to reach out to you about?
Sure, it's olympiahollywood@gmail.com, and I'll spell it out. It's O as in onion, L as in Larry, I as in ink, M as in mom, P as in Paul, Y as in yes, A as in apple, Hollywood@gmail.com.
Okay, thank you so much, Leo. I appreciate
You're welcome.
I am going to, it looks like looks like Coulter from our committee has a question, so I'm gonna give it over to Coulter.
Sure.
Thank you, Stephanie. And Leo, thank you for joining us and going over all this.
You're welcome.
Leo, so just so I understand, when did you start the remodel exactly?
It's been about 2 months, roughly.
About 2 months, okay.
Yeah.
And you said that you leased the property starting November 1st?
Correct.
Okay. Why did you just reach out to the neighborhood council now? Why didn't you reach out to us before you leased the property, before you started the remodel?
When I got my state license in January 27 of 2025, and between November and today, I was going through a process with LADCR, so it was a question mark whether I was going to have the store or not. So reaching out to you before making a lease, it'd be just there was nothing going on for me to reach out and tell you that I have a store, I'm going to open a store, I'm going to have my licenses, acquire my licenses on this location. And then once we got our licenses acquired, we followed the municipal code to reach out to neighborhood council to offer to appear. So I think I've done everything by law.
So, Leo, are you under the impression that all this is going to go through without the support of the neighborhood council?
We've been following all the rules and the regulations since we applied for a license here. I'm confident enough that we were doing the right things to do a grand opening.
Gotcha. So you're under the impression
I wouldn't see
you're going to pass without the support of the neighborhood council.
I'm going to ask for the support. I'm opening a business in the community, and we have to reach out to the neighborhood council to offer to appear, and I did that. I think I've done my part on that, and we hope that the neighborhood council, will be supportive of the community and the members that own businesses in the community.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to. It looks like Audit LA has a comment or a question. So I am going to, Leo, I'm gonna mute you temporarily and give Audit LA a chance to speak for a minute, and then if the committee would like you to like answer on subject matter, I'll unmute you again. So just so you know.
Oh, sure.
Okay, Audit LA, you should be able to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate Calder for asking the tougher questions, because it does feel like a lot of times I've noticed that businesses don't always respect the neighborhood councils. In fact, they've even gotten laws changed in city council so they, don't have to do as much with the neighborhood council. So I think it's prudent to fight for that respect, because you definitely deserve it. You're the front line in the community, and people are going to be complaining to you if things go wrong. And I also want to say we are very saturated with cannabis shops, and I don't think we have to be, hasty getting into them. And if any business feels that they just have to do the basic what's necessary by law, but not have the respect to come and, shake your hand and say, hey, we want to be part of the community and work with you, then I wouldn't give the support, and I would say no. And if they still get it, then they get it. But I think the neighborhood councils need to stand up, even with Bonk and with the city council, and demand more of that process to be able to evaluate. Thank you.
Comments. Okay, I'm going to move it to Henry. I'm going to give you an allowance to talk.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, Henry, there you go.
Thank you. I really just had one is a question for this board, and then one is for the gentleman with the petitioning for the license. I always like to ask for small businesses, there's a lot that you can do for the community. One is jobs, but also more of a community space. I'm curious to hear on your take what it is that you believe you're providing to the community besides, frankly, yet another weed shop. And to the board, I think at the very least, in fairness, I'm not sure when the gentleman made his petition via email. If it was yesterday, it could have been months ago. But I think that does merit some clarification on whether he did, try in good faith to reach out beforehand in a reasonable time. So that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. I will ask Leo to respond to the question about hang on, sorry, let me. Okay. Yeah. Leo, if you want to respond to the question about what benefits you'd bring to the community, I think I'm happy to give you the floor.
Sure. So there are three big benefits, right? One is the shop employing having job spaces for community members to apply and work and have a job. Number two, we're providing not just a weed shop. We're selling products of people that are in need, either medically or recreationally. And number three, we're paying 40% tax, which is basically 5 to 8 times more than other community businesses that are paying it. Not to just throw them off, but these are facts. Those are the three big things that we're doing, other than just being a weed shop.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna just do some housekeeping real quick for this. Okay, Monica, I'm gonna allow you to talk. Okay, you should be able to.
Good evening, everybody. I am one of the neighbors here, and we used to have a convenience store. It wasn't a liquor store. A convenience store that had everything you can think of, that you didn't have to run to a big supermarket. Walking to that store was a great way of supporting, making the area walkable and supporting the small business. One of my concerns is that we have a church across the street from this, and as far as I know, it cannot be a weed store, cannot be that close from a church. We have two churches, Scientology, if it's considered church, and the other one on the corner. Then we do have daycare around the area. We have schools.
Thank you.
The church already itself brings enough
Monica,
drug dealers around and drug people selling
and I have
drugs.
to mute you. I'm sorry, just to be fair. But okay, I think Leo, if you could respond to the question about proximity to, it sounded like churches and daycares, because that has come up on a couple other applicants in terms of what's allowable. I think you might need to.
Sure, of course. So churches are now part of sensitive uses anymore. I think a few years back there was a policy change on that. As far as the convenience store that she's speaking of, there's 2 other convenience stores right on the corner. So there used to be 3, and now there's 2.
Do you name them, chance?
I don't know the name. No, it's right off the corner of Sunset. I mean Edgemont and Fountain. It's right on one of the corners. The one that closed was a convenience store, so there's another one on Sunset and Edgemont right on the corner. If you go down, let's say you're driving down on Edgemont going south.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see it right when you pass the light on the right side. So as far as churches, they're not sensitive uses anymore, and we go through a thorough check with the State Department, the Department of Cannabis Control, and also Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation. So we are a qualified location.
Okay, thank you. I actually do have one additional question, which was, and it's partly, I'm not sure how this process goes. So you had signed a lease, it sounds like back in like November of 2024, but you don't technically have a license yet, is my understanding. So how does that work for you if for some reason you were unsuccessful in obtaining a license, but were locked into a lease? Like, what would your strategy be in that situation?
So we are already state licensed, and we do have our state license.
But Leo, that license didn't come in until January 2025, and you said that you did the lease in November, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct. So again, going back to what I was saying earlier, we have to get a location that clears all the sensitive uses when we apply. So that's part of the risk that we take. All operators take that risk to have a location, to sign a lease, to submit our paperwork to LADCR and to the state, and to go through the process and to pay rent and to wait to get our sensitive uses cleared out, apply for the temporary approval for state and local. So I'm actually surprised and happy that this took it's taking us like 6 months. Before it used to be like year and a half before you get to do a grand opening. So LADCR and DCC have picked up the pace very much faster as of late. So that's how it is. We get the lease, we submit our paperwork, and we wait. So going back to Coulter's earlier question, where I didn't reach you out earlier, there was nothing for me to reach you out for. There wasn't nothing going on. I was just going to reach out to you and say I have a lease. That's all that there was back then. And I didn't reach out to you. I reached out to you on March 24th because that's when we received the word on our licenses, license statuses officially. Or else I had no problem reaching out to neighborhood council the day I signed the lease. There was never we would have done it. It's just there was nothing going on.
Thank you. Coulter, do you have other questions? Your hand is still up.
I do, yeah. Leo, my other question for you, have you been to a Cannabis Commission meeting before? From the city of Los Angeles?
Regarding
just ever been to one?
Of course, I've been to every single one of them, and I'm one of the members of their. I'm one of the 12 members where we gather around. We talk about policy changes with Jason Killeen, with Michelle Garagian. So of course, every single LADCR meeting I've been to.
Okay, great. So, I've been to some of them too. And what you see at those meetings are a lot of people that own cannabis dispensaries that are really struggling financially right now, that are overtaxed, overregulated, and in heavy competition with illegal shops that are not being shut down at a fast enough pace. So
you're right.
So that's why I'm curious. Why did you decide then, if you're going to these meetings and you're hearing this, why did you decide that this made business sense for you all here?
Well, I'm a couple things. Thank you for that question. So, but I'm a social equity. I'm a tier 1 and tier 2 social equity approved applicant back from 2019. So I had an opportunity to join a lottery about 2 years ago, and I've won the lottery. So it was better 2 years ago, but we just overall decided to move forward with the project. But number 2 big factor that played a role in my decision is I have a very good rent rate, and it made sense for me. But looking back at, if you want to go back to 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, rent rates were like insane. Landlords were like price gouging on every single property that was qualified. It was just ridiculous. The rents were like 20, 25K, 30K. And that's why you see a lot of shops closing down. Like, you might know Libra on Sunset, LA Kush, they're part of CD13. They shut down about 3 months ago. So yeah, the majority of shops that are shutting down and not making a profit is because of their rent rates. So we have a good deal on that, and we're hoping for a better day.
Coulter, is that the end of your questions?
Yeah, that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Leo, for answering our questions. I am thinking about Monica's comments that it was, formerly a store that had was more of a, I don't know, convenience is probably not the right word, but like a small neighborhood mart is probably like a better way to qualify that. And it is unfortunate that that is a community use that is perhaps in some ways more universally usable for members of the public, just because there are still restrictions on cannabis. But it is also, I think, tough. It's a tough business environment. I mean, as Coulter just pointed out, and unfortunately, we don't control, the business conditions, nor do we control people's decisions to go in or out of business. And I know that that store decided ultimately to close their doors. And I don't know that personally, I feel we can fault a new applicant coming in. I had not seen the email from the applicant prior, but especially especially if it gets sent to me now, I appreciate the reach out for in advance and complying. We have had applicants in this area who are pursuing a cannabis license who have represented to DCR that they have reached out to us when that has absolutely not been the case, and they have avoided communication with us, which is really not okay to me. And so to the extent that an applicant is following the rules and is, reaching out to us as is required, I find that to be, sort of, we can ask for more, I think, but I don't feel like we can expect that from folks, since their main point of contact is DCR, and unfortunately we don't control DCR. I do also think that the address in terms of just that block is sort of like an adult uses block, as far as I am seeing, in the sense that it's next to just a lot of other stores that do have a fair amount of traffic, and are sort of I don't know, to me, I'm this seems like I'm sort of agnostic about the use as is being proposed, and it is around a lot of other retail storefronts at this point. So I appreciate the applicant coming forward and following the rules as set out by DCR, and also speaking with us even on short notice. So that's sort of my take right now. But I yield to other folks on the committee if they would like to give their thoughts.
Well, I'll just start then, I guess. So Stephanie and Jeff, want to remind everyone about sort of the history of this area, and how we got to this spot with the bars and restaurants that are there. So as you all might remember, a few years back, we had a huge neighborhood fight over the alcohol licenses and the alcohol license hours. And in order to come up with a compromise for the businesses and the neighbors around there, people might recall how many people came from self-realization to try to fight the alcohol licenses, people from around the neighborhood. Part of the compromise we came up with was that we weren't going to expand the hours or the licenses happening in that area. And my feeling is that if we were to support this, we would be going back on that original compromise that we made with them. This is something that I've tried to talk with the city council office about, and they have not seemed to care about that. But I don't, if we were to support this, it would be like us going back on the deal we made with those neighbors. So it's not something that I feel like that we can support, and at least not something that I'll be able to support. And then furthermore, we debate whether they're technically sensitive use sites under the current code. But I think practically we all realize that having that thing so close to the Hope Church that has literal rehab classes that happen there, so close to the churches that 100% don't want that in their neighborhood. I just don't really see how it makes a ton of sense for us. And then lastly, I don't know if this is important or not, but I'll bring it up, is that we already have such limited parking there as it is. And so the idea then now we're going to have one more store that's going to attract people from the area to come drive there and park in the area to go there. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. So we just have a lot of issues, and it's just really tough for me to say yes to this.
Coulter, can I ask you to I am familiar with the conversations around the alcohol licenses. My remembrance is that those go past 10. I mean, I believe Leo said, yeah, 10 p.m. The alcohol licenses in all cases go past 10 p.m. So can you clarify what you're referring to when you say you don't want to expand
It's not
hours?
Yeah. So what this comes down to is that the neighbors don't want an expansion in any kind of substance use type facilities, right? And so we approved the alcohol license for Besties. We approved it for what was that old restaurant there in the corner?
Found Oyster.
Not Found Oyster. But
Bathy's.
Just Safi's.
No, the other one across the street that's now that new bar.
Safi's.
No, it
Square
was
One.
Square
It was
One.
Square One. Yeah. So we approved it for Square
That's
One.
correct.
We extended the alcohol license for Safi's, and then we allowed it for Besties all at the same time, with the idea then that we wouldn't expand it any further. And so again, that would be, in my view, us going back on that deal if we were to say yes to this. And that's why I wish that
It's not about
city
the
council
hours, it's
office-
about the uses. Is that I just want to make sure I'm following you. You're not comfortable expanding, you're not comfortable expanding the uses, or you're not comfortable expanding the number of quote unquote regulated uses in the area? What is the issue?
what was the first thing you said?
Are you saying you don't want to expand from having alcohol in that corridor to alcohol and weed, or are you saying you don't want any more restricted uses in that corridor?
I don't think we should have any more restricted uses in that corridor at anymore. So that includes alcohol, and that includes cannabis.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood where your concerns were coming from.
I have a question, Stephanie.
Sure.
So the Hope Center which is, across the street on the corner there, doesn't that qualify as a social rehabilitation facility? Which is considered a sensitive use?
So I actually know the answer to this, and it has to be registered with the state department as a specific kind of facility. I texted the folks over there. Let's just say it's unclear if they are, but I don't think they're registered with the state.
So even though that it is we've been supporting the Hope Center forever. It is a social rehabilitation facility. It's no longer really a church, right?
Yes, and this is the exact point that I've made to the city council office about all these cannabis licenses. It's that they're trying to jump around all these different hoops in order to, say, oh, technically this or that. But we all know why we made these laws. It was to protect spots exactly like this from getting a cannabis license. There was that daycare on the last one. There was that school on the last one that had just the most random technicalities, I'm sure you all remember. And so they're jumping through hoops to try to get these things through. And so, what I said to them is that, hey, what we should do is we should then go and make a list of all these, go to them, make sure they're registered in the proper way so that we don't have a situation like this. And they literally email me back saying they're not going to put council staff time into that.
Right.
So they're telling us that they want to put as many of these out as possible, and it's not a priority to them to try to regulate this in a way that's kosher to the neighborhood council of the community. They're essentially saying they don't even care about what the neighborhood council has to say about this.
In all fairness, I don't think saying we don't have capacity or we are not willing to add staff to that is saying we want to put as many out there as possible.
I disagree.
But I do think what you're saying is, that I feel that's an extrapolation, but what I do think what you're saying is they have not committed to fulfilling the request you made about doing a city specific review. But we can disagree, but that my take is slightly different from yours based on that exchange.
Yeah, and I get that. So part of what's creating that view for me is what I've seen at some of these cannabis commission hearings, and the people from the city are essentially allowed to literally butt into the conversation that board members are having in order to try to steer the conversation in a different direction. And so it just seems to me that the city is doing everything possible to change the rules and to put people in and processes set up so that these aren't really fair reviews of the situation. So just to give you one example, at the last Cannabis Commission meeting where we all went over that one on Mariposa that we voted unanimously against, by the way, the city council office had told us that was a slam dunk, that we were just, blissfully ignorant that thing was just a slam dunk, met all the requirements. That was not the opinion of the people at the commission. There was a lively debate over whether or not this thing was within 700 feet of a sensitive use site. And one of the commission members even voted against that license. And so the city council office, in my opinion, completely gaslit us into pretending that thing was just a slam dunk when in fact it was really controversial. And I'm personally, based on what I heard, I don't know that it would have passed had all these city officials not literally interrupted the commission during the meeting to steer it another way. And so that's why I think the way I do. I mean, a smoking gun? I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to get a smoking gun, but we have to make decisions based on the information we have. And from what I've seen, that's what I think. I mean, I essentially think they're trying to push as many of these through as possible to deal with the budget deficit. That's what I think.
He's not wrong.
I agree with you, Culture. But yeah, it is a technical issue, but we know what the right thing is, and we know that this is a social rehabilitation facility. I'm talking about the Hope Center. So whether it's registered or not, it is what it is. So, and as a business rep, I'm all for business. However, it doesn't mean that I overlook things that are against what is a sensitive use. Leo, how many employees are you expected to have there?
At least one to start off. At least one to start off. I'm sorry, actually. I always forget that we're the only business that should have armed security. So we're going to start off with two. One armed security and one employee, and then I'll be the third employee.
You're gonna be the employee.
I'm gonna be the employee. We're gonna hire armed security, and then we're gonna hire another position for the store.
Armed security is expensive, So last time I checked,
yeah,
$50 an
maybe
hour.
All bars, it's like I always think about like. Maybe bars should have armed security at all times. Maybe that should be like a requirement from the council members or the policy. Because if you look back, I mean, I don't know when was the last time a cannabis shop was going to be robbed. I think it was back in 22 or 23. This last I heard was in Silver Lake. But yeah, we're gonna have two, sir. We're gonna have two to start off.
Right. Yeah. So what is your take on being so close to a social rehabilitation center? I mean, even though it might not be registered, I didn't check on that, but I know that it is, Leo. Do you find it correct to be so close to a social rehabilitation center?
Jeff,
no, it's sensitive.
Jeff, going by the letter of the law, that is not a sensitive use. And to go back to Mr. Coulter's exchange a few minutes ago, where we try to go around all the technical difficulties and we try to just get licenses, that's not quite true, because if any sensitive use was in between the 700 feet, there is zero chance that LADCR is going to grant us a license. And the 1503 North Mariposa, I'm very aware of that situation, because we had a meeting about that, and it is within 700 feet. So the school that's owned, they I think own 2 lots, but one lot is not an actual school zoning. It's the other lot that's the school zoning. But anyhow, if we don't follow the letter of the law, Jeff, we're not going to get a license, period. There's nothing to go around it. There's nothing to do. No one's better than anyone. No one's special. It's not a connection thing where, you're just not going to get it. That's it. As far as the Hope Center, look, Jeff, I don't agree with a lot of things in life, like with policies, but that doesn't mean that I don't agree with having 4 alcohol licenses around there. Maybe that's
what I'm trying to tell you, Leo, is I don't want you making all this investment in this facility, because I'm going to make sure that Hope Center is going to be listed correctly as a rehabilitation center. So I'm just, because that's what it is. And if it wasn't classified correctly, it doesn't make it right because of some technicality, and that's what Coulter is referring to. It doesn't make it right to say that it isn't, when in fact it is. So
I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying we follow the letter of the law, Jeff.
Well, the law, it's not really what the question is. The law is the law, correct? However,
Okay.
the classification of that facility is what's incorrect. So, and it didn't follow into the bucket so that the law could be right now, that it could be enforced. You see what I'm saying? So if it was changed tomorrow to correctly state on the social services website that it was in fact a social rehabilitation facility, then what? You've made all this investment into this cannabis, but then it would be taken away overnight because now you're within so many feet of a sensitive service, sensitive business.
I don't want to get into hypotheticals, but it is not a sensitive use, Jeff.
Okay.
And it can't be sensitive use tomorrow.
All right.
It's not a light switch on and you just turn the light on and change the law. We follow the law, and
it's not about.
And what happens tomorrow? It's not the law. Well, we follow the law.
We're not trying to change the law. We're trying to change the classification.
Hey, I just can I kind of want to.
Yeah, let's move on.
Going back and forth on like a thing that no one here is going to make the determination of that. So.
Right. Okay.
We can come to
move on.
We can come to that. There's a disagreement between folks on the group, but okay. I think that Coulter, you were the one who asked to put this on the agenda. Thank you for flagging it. And I think it is good that we've had this conversation. The community has been able to learn more about the application regardless, as it is pending. And I believe the meeting, let's see that Leo mentioned there's one on April 16th for folks who are interested, is what you said, right now?
Correct, Stephanie. So April 16th is where the community members can call in and leave comments only. They get like a minute or two to leave comments. And on May 1st would be the actual CRC meeting where I physically appear with a presentation in front of the commission.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Of course, sure.
Coulter, were you interested in making a motion or?
Yeah, I was going to make a motion to oppose.
Okay. I'm looking for, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion is to, Coulter, help me. It's to oppose the application for the type 10 annual license, is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, I will go first. I am a no. Coulter?
Yes.
Yes, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay. Leo, if as the group has taken action, it will be going to the full board, the full governing board committee. For everyone here on the calls, FYI, that meets the third Monday of the month. So that is going to be next Monday. I will be sending out an email with that motion, and I will try to send the agenda when it's generated later this week, but I'm in a bit of a crunch this week. So Coulter or Jeff, if you see it come out and if you would not mind forwarding it to, I haven't done it already, that would be much appreciated. Otherwise, Leo, if you go to the East Hollywood Neighborhood Council website, the login will also be, like the agenda will be posted with the link same as today's was. But just for your FYI, it'll be next Monday at 7 p.m. I think it's even the same Zoom, but you can get that on. I will try to send the agenda. I just am not totally sure I will do it. But thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your time, and I'm gonna review now, so we can keep. I think just close out the rest of the agenda for today. Okay, I'm gonna check the list really quickly. Oh no, I've closed the agenda. Give me a second. Okay, we don't have anything else aside from new and old business. So I don't have anything. I don't know if the other members of the committee do. Coulter.
So we're not going to talk about the ED1 projects.
What are you talking? Sorry, what are you referring to?
Yeah, those first three items, the one in Vermont, I believe,
I put those as an FYI for community members. If you want to make comment on them, that's fine. I am not planning to do that.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, are we looking at that item today, or are we not?
I agendize them as informational items, so there's no action to be taken. My personal take is also, since these are I'm gonna open one. ADM means that this is an administrative, like this was an city administrator reviewed it, and means that it's been deemed compliant, which means that it's been deemed like, if it has not already, it means it's deemed approved, is the general process. So you know, we have not that this committee has not elected to hear things that are nevertheless a ministerial item, but I did not agendize it as such. If you would like to for another meeting, we could do that, but we didn't. I don't think we can do that today since there's not an action associated within the agenda. I also it would not be my take to do that. So if you want to, you would request it for next month. But I mean, I think comment can be made. It's just, I don't think an action can be taken.
Okay. So my big fear here is that there are three huge ED1 projects coming in. The last one that we looked at was extremely controversial. I believe this is now 18 or 19 of these projects just in East Hollywood alone that are either approved or pending approval. And the people of East Hollywood were not really given a say in what our own planning and land use policies were. They passed the Hollywood Community Plan. Then the mayor's office is giving exemptions to the zoning so they could build large buildings. Um, uh, I, it just seems that they're completely trying to kick us out of this process altogether and not give normal community members a say in the process. Now, if we did have a say in the process from the beginning and we're able to look at all this and come up with a plan that we think makes sense, maybe I could look at one of these individual projects and say, yeah, maybe that one in Vermont makes sense, or maybe this other one would make sense under the plan we have laid out. But we were never given an opportunity to do that, and this board and this committee hasn't done that yet. And so I just have a really hard time, saying that, okay, we're going to go to the people of East Hollywood and say these projects are okay, or that we shouldn't be doing anything to oppose them, without a plan that we all feel comfortable with. And so I just don't know that I feel comfortable with these projects coming in under these circumstances.
Okay, I guess my take is these are affordable projects. We have consistently heard from the community that they want affordable projects. We have heard a variety of projects, some of which have had, only a few units restricted. I'm looking at these, and my understanding is that these are largely restricted, like over 50% restricted to low income households. So my take is that is what at least the board, but I also think when people have called in opposing these mega projects, it's been because they have been, people are worried about people being able to stay in the community, people are worried about affordability, people are worried about displacement. All of that is very real. And it's because there's no guarantee that those units will stay affordable. These are restricted units, which means they do have to stay affordable. So to me, I'm like, these are in line with what people have been saying they are interested in having. So I'm a little, including, this committee. So I'm a little confused by that comment, I gotta say.
Yeah, I can elaborate.
I think I'm gonna, so I can finish my thought. I think the other thing is, this is an this is an advisory body. I want to make sure that's clear for the people on the line. Just because it's advisory doesn't mean Coulter is right. We always have the ability to write letters, opposing projects, supporting projects, asking projects to, saying support if amended. All of those things are very important actions to be able to have. We do not have the ability to directly make a project change their income, their unit makeup, their income restrictions, those things. It is an advisory body only. So that is not, frequently there are projects that move through that we don't have, that the board has not supported, and they are all moving through to the extent that the owner has decided to proceed with construction, because it is an advisory body. And especially when there are things that are like already in statute, like those are things that it's purely a matter of, do they meet these criteria, and if so, they are allowed to proceed. And I would say, as an affordable housing advocate, like, frankly, that is, for affordable projects, in my experience, something that is helpful, because there are still, we do not have affordable housing units in the city, and there are still like areas where it is helpful to have it, but for a variety of reasons, the community does not want to see that. And so being able to provide what is a social good, I think, is an important option for the city to have. They're also legally required to provide to plan for X number of affordable housing units throughout their region, as required by the state, or else they're penalized on a number of levels. So in some ways, they are trying to provide the environment to meet their state mandated requirements. So yeah, I'm just laying this out as a matter of context for folks. But Coulter, go ahead.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing all that, Stephanie. So I think we have to think about this in the context that it's all happening, right? So with either, if we were just to say, hey, we want all market rate apartments coming in, or we just want affordable housing units coming in. There are trade-offs with either one of those decisions. One of the big ones for the affordable housing ones is generally the parking, where 80% of these, from the last count I did on the pending ones in East Hollywood, don't have any parking whatsoever. And so the trade-off from doing that is then, okay, well, now we're going to lose all this street parking because all these people are, I mean, the city will say that they're not going to have a car, but I think
That is not
we
tied
all know
to,
these
that is
people are
not
going to
tied to
have cars.
affordability though.
And no, yeah, right. So that's part of the trade-off. The other concern I have about the ED1 projects, is that I don't know how affordable they really are when you're looking at the square footage. I think that from what I was told before, that on the low end for just the one on Mariposa as an example, on the low end we were looking at like $400 for what was about a little over a 200 square foot apartment, and there's no amenities in that building. And then that was going to go all the way up to, I think, a little under $2,000 for one of those, if I remember. They're going to scale it out. So I do have some concerns over how affordable they actually are in this case when you think about it on a square foot basis, and that they don't come with any amenities. I definitely agree on the low end that is affordable housing, even at 200 square feet or whatever it is. I completely agree on the low end that that is affordable. But when you start getting above that $1,000 mark, I think it's a lot murkier. But for the sake of argument, let's say none of that is true, and let's just say that these are all affordable units, right? The problem is that we're not just getting the ED1 projects. We're also getting all the market rate buildings, as we can see by what's happening on Carlton Way and what's happening on Hollywood. And so I'm worried that we're about to enter the worst of both worlds, where on the one hand, the rent keeps going up. People keep getting displaced because of all the both state bonuses and because of what the new Hollywood community plan allows people to do and incentivizes people to do in East Hollywood. And then on top of it, we're going to get a huge cluster of these ED1 projects that are going to take away all of our parking. And so I'm worried we're going to end up
Coulter, I just want to, the ED1 projects are not related to parking reductions. Those are like two separate things. The large units, large projects that we've been looking at that where the board has been upset because there isn't affordability, have similar parking reductions.
So if I remember correctly, the market rate building was 134 units and had 131 parking spots.
That's an individual choice, but that is not something that it's like, oh, well, ED1 projects are never providing parking, and market rate projects are providing are required to provide parking. That's all. I see what you're saying. That's all owner specific. Like that's something.
Yeah. So some of these will and some of them won't. I understand what you're saying.
I just don't want to like stereotype. You're like, I don't want to run the risk of stereotyping, like, low income units as one way or the other. So I actually do think that is appropriate. Yeah. Okay.
I think that the vast majority of these ED1s don't have that, and that most of the major market rate buildings that we're seeing come in are going to have parking. We can debate how much parking, but I do think that's a fair description of these projects in general. So, then of course there's the biggest part of this, which is that none of us actually got a say, that there was not a robust debate in the community about this. And because of that, now all the bungalows and all the rent controlled apartments are under threat of being torn down in the next 3 to 5 years, either for an ED1 project or either for a big market rate project, and the neighborhood council having very little recourse to do anything about it. So now, I'm just worried that we're going to end up in the worst of both worlds, and that despite the fact that this is the biggest change that we've seen in East Hollywood in 30, 40 years in terms of what an impact it's going to have on planning and land use, that we didn't really have a robust public debate. The vast majority of people in East Hollywood don't know this is about to happen. They don't know about the displacement they're going to have, and they don't know about the reduction in parking. And so now we're supposed to go to them and say, hey, all these ED1 projects coming in, it's fine because their label is affordable. In the grand scheme of things, I just think we're going to end up in the worst of all worlds. So that's my concern with us supporting these projects at this point.
Okay, thank you for sharing your opinion. That is it in terms of the agenda. So unless Jeff, did you have any, well, actually, Coulter, I don't think you had addition or any non-agendized items that you wanted to bring up.
No, but we haven't let anyone do public comment on this item.
What item?
The ED1 projects.
Oh, I guess that's true. Let me see. Okay, give me a second.
Finally.
Okay, folks who have their hand raised, I will gradually go one by one to give you a minute of public comment on the, I guess it's action item A in the agenda for those who are following. Jillian, hello. Okay. Hi, Jillian. You should have a minute.
Hi, thank you. I really just wanted, I've had my hand raised the whole time to make sure we allowed some of the neighbors that were here today to ask questions and learn more about, despite the fact that ED1 is sort of approved no matter what, and we are just an advisory body. I wanted people to have the opportunity to learn more about what they could do or how they could get more involved or how they could learn more, or if it's just a lost cause. So that was my main comment, is like, just share more information about, should people be contacting the council district, the mayor's office? What are steps that could be taken? Because there are folks that I invited to participate today that I know want to know more, and any guidance you can offer would be much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. ED1 was an executive directive from the mayor's office. So I think that, in general, the council district offices and the mayor's office are good places to try to contact. Yeah.
I'd concur with that, Stephanie. I 100% think that people should be reaching out to the city council office, and the mayor's office. Jillian, I'm happy to share with you our area mayor's office contact. If you want to distribute that around, I forget how to spell David's last name, but that would be our mayor's office contact.
Okay, I'm gonna move to Mona. Hi, Mona.
Thank you for the time. I know we've talked about these EDI projects in the past, and my concern in the past has been accessible and affordable housing for people with disabilities. And on those plans, I don't see any of the ADAGs requirements being followed. And two, I still want to know how many set-asides for Section 8 vouchers are going to be included in those low income. They need to have Section 8 voucher set-asides. And I hear that I need to call over to the city council office. I will do that. Audit LA will do that. But again, the people with disabilities and the disability community are being totally 86ed out of these freaking projects.
Okay, thank you, Mona. I can comment probably on the Section 8, which is that there are sort of two types. One is individual tenant holders. So I think that those, these projects are being approved, so they're not constructed. But when they are in operations, a Section 8 holder is able to apply to them. And typically, in my experience, projects that have units that are required to be restricted to people who are low income are a good fit for individual voucher holders, because the voucher holders both need to be income verified, and the project itself needs to prove that the tenant is income verified, neither of which usually happens on the open market at all. So it tends to be a good fit. So those could be good locations for voucher holders to keep an eye out and apply to. In terms of there are other vouchers that I will say that we're in a dearth of vouchers from the city in general, which is tough. There are many more people who are eligible to have one than are given one, and that is really unfortunate. I wanted to ask you really quickly about you referenced ADAG, and I am wondering what you're referring to, because I know that projects have to meet the accessibility related standards, and the city was sued a while back. So I was curious what you're like, if you can like maybe specify the acronym you're using for the group and also where you're looking. I would look more into it personally.
Absolutely. Federal Housing Authority has what's called the ADA, Americans with Disability Act Accessibility Guidelines. It's called the ADAG, basically the same thing as the ADA requirements for businesses and all of that, except for this is for the housing units. And there's a certain amount of units that need to be wheelchair accessible, handicap accessible, of course, all of the path of travel, all of the major units, or the public areas need to be accessible. But the ADAG is a requirement, and I was looking at the plans, and they don't have the number of units. And two, the Section 8 voucher set-asides for people with disabilities is different than just income requirements. So they have a certain amount of set-asides for those Section 8 vouchers for people with disabilities, and they have to make sure that they comply with how many set-asides per unit. So those are the two different things. They are different than just low income.
Got it. Mona, if you I could look into this a little bit more. If you wanted to email me, I'm at Stephanie, STEPHANIE Park, PARK at easthollywood.net. If you want to shoot me an email, I could try to look into it a little bit more as well.
I would appreciate it. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the list. Okay, Henry, I'm gonna allow you. Oh, what did I do? Nope, I did something.
You did me.
Sorry, hang on.
This
Henry,
meeting is
okay,
being
you're allowed
recorded.
to talk.
Thank you. I just want to support what Mona said, and particularly I want to clarify. So I have reached out to various city council members. It's not that we take issue with the neighborhood councils. It's specifically the fact that the councilor members themselves are behaving in an erratic, irrational, and negligent fashion. And I think I come here in strong support of the neighborhood councils, although we might disagree on certain things. The fact of the matter is you guys are literally the only body that's actually responsive and actually gives a crap, seriously. And so I don't want to belittle that you are merely just an advisory, you have just an advisory position. It's really much more than that. And the fact of the matter is there's 99 of you guys, okay? And there's only 13 council members. And so I think it's a much bigger issue, but again, I support the neighborhood councils. I don't support the council members. I take serious issue with them, and it's not for a lack of trying.
Thank you for your comment. I'm trying to be fair and give folks a minute, but I appreciate that vote of confidence from you for purposes of the neighborhood council. Yeah, I appreciate that take. Thank you. Can someone remind me, did I give Audit LA the minute on this item or not? I cannot remember. I don't think so.
No, you didn't.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Audit LA, you were next on this list. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Jeff, for getting me in. Okay, there is a group here that I've been advocating. I don't know the name of it, but I am going to send it forward. They're advocating that we could get all the housing requirements we need to be, with the law, but doing it in commercial areas. Like you have the Ralphs on the bottom, you have apartments on top. You see that at Hollywood and Western. And that could meet all of our needs, so we don't have to lose all of our bungalows. We don't have to have these big projects in between and with a house in between and then another big project. It can be done. So they've been advocating because like you don't want to become a North Hollywood, and it sounds like you're fast becoming a North Hollywood, here, and so it's not good. But I also wanted to say that you do have power in the sense that to gain your approval, you can be demanding certain concessions. That's what that's what other places do too. Okay, it's like okay, you want to because they want the letter of support. It makes it easier. It makes it better. And so you can say, hey, negotiate that, and you should be doing that. But I want to ask you also to put something on the agenda, because did you do new business yet? Because I want
Yeah,
to
we
comment
did.
on that.
Oh, we were in that section, but
Oh.
I'm gonna move you just to be fair, but thank you for sharing. I do just a quick comment on the building and commercial areas. I do think there's actually a lot of effort to upzone those areas. That also depends on whether those property owners are willing to sell those spaces, and if so, at what price in relation to other parcels that are zoned residential. But it is a good point, and I do think that there is movement both citywide and statewide to upzone those areas, because I think there is desire from people to do that. I think it's not always set up for those who are interested in doing that to be able to. Okay, Monica, you are going to be allowed to speak. There we go.
Great, thank you. I agree with Coulter comments, Mona, Henry, Audit LA. Absolutely, I think you guys are rushing decisions that needs to be taken slowly, understand what's going on, where is everything going. There's a lot of construction that is huge around, and it might be resolved the issue, and it might not be needed to have all these big things happening. Parking can be a situation, and I think approving and going so fast with things we can be sooner than later into a whole mess, like Coulter said. Like if we rewind this video that is being recorded, he explained it clearly. So let's not rush this. And as much as we want to help people, low income and everything, let's give it some thought, because we will be into something really not to the favor to the community.
Okay.
So
Thank
that's
you.
you guys.
Myself. Thank you, Monica. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, thank you, Coulter, for reminding me for public comment on the info items. Okay, that was everyone, and I appreciate the comments. And are we doing comments on new and old business? I thought that was just for committee members, to be honest, but I could be wrong.
I can't remember us doing it in the past, but it's your call.
No. Okay.
Wait a minute. Say the question again.
There was an inquiry about public comment on new or old business. I thought that was just a committee specific area, to be honest.
So I
You can ask for public comment if you want.
I guess since there was a question about it, I will give whoever asked for it a minute if they would
At the
like.
discretion of the chair. So.
We've already gone quite a long time. So if anyone wants to, I cannot remember, I'm sorry, who had inquired about that. So
Audit LA.
Okay, Audit LA, if you would like a minute, you please raise your hand and I can give you a minute on new and old business. Typically, we've kind of just left it to the committee members, but since you've requested, why not? Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Other boards do it. So just to let you know, and thank you, Jeff, yet again. I appreciate it. Okay, I just wanted to ask you, because here we are talking about parking, that I am asking you to put on the agenda, because this is definitely a plum issue, just to find out whether or not L. Ron Hubbard Way is a no parking street. Because as we know, there's a lot of people that use L. Ron Hubbard Way. They may want to go to the church there, but I know they have their own parking. But there's also 3 hospitals in the vicinity. There's a metro. Okay, and there's a lot of neighbors. Okay, so if it's not legally a no parking street, and the city is collecting, if people do park there, they're giving out tickets. It's wrong. You guys really need to get to the bottom of it. I can't get to LAPD can't tell me, DOT can't tell me, the neighborhood council. I mean the city council. No one seems to know. So could you please put it on your agenda to push the city to make a determination? If it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. That's another issue. But we need to know facts, and I appreciate if you could do that. Thank you.
This was another request of mine for whether, or my question on that would be whether that's something business building and safety can look into it. I feel like I'm thinking of business building and safety as like the compliance side related item, but let me know your thoughts, Jeff and Coulter.
Just do it.
I mean, Plum is, it's for. I don't think that would be a Plum issue. I mean, we can bring it into the business committee.
Yeah, that would be my take, would be if business building and safeties.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, okay. So for Audit LA's FYI, Jeff is willing to take that up in his committee's jurisdiction, because I think that's a better fit for purposes of, ensuring compliance and proper regulation of operating businesses and entities. Okay, I think that is it for the evening. I will send the motion on the cannabis application out to the governing board meeting, and just a reminder for folks that the governing board meeting is next Monday at 7 p.m. And I will adjourn today. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. It's definitely a land use issue. I mean, come on, like every time, right? Every time. The reason why Jeff wants to put it off is because then he can run roughshod over the committee that he oversees, whereas this one he does not. That's why he wants to do it. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. That's why he keeps objecting to it, because he knows, right? He's just playing the classic game of politics, giving some good faith actions on petty, small, minor stuff, but on the major stuff, it's I mean, listen, okay? I go to the actual planning and land use. How is it that the use of land does not fall to the land use committee? How is it that the planning does not fall to the land use committee? And I mean, like, seriously. And how many meetings do we have to have for them to have a meeting to consider, at the very least, to consider adding it to the damn agenda? And we know they do this for other people. It's like, come on, man. Like, this is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Like, seriously, this is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And the problem is, okay, they're not, like, this is my issue overall with all the Los Angeles committees I've seen, okay? Let me give you the good, for my opinion. Here's the good that I see with LA city committees, okay? They have a freaking committee for everything. That's great. That's great. Because that means that there is at least an appropriate agency that is with power, with authority, with agency in order to actually take action, okay? The issue is these committees don't stand up for themselves and advocate. You know, we talk about this all the time. You know, I mean, we literally sat here and listened to a board member talk about, we're only in an advisory position. We're only in an advisory position. We don't actually have any power. I mean, that's insane. And that's total objective false. It's just, that's false. That is not true. You do, in fact, have power. You literally have the power to turn down license applications. That's power. Okay, that's not nothing. That's real power. I mean, that's real, actual power. And to push it off to the people when that's literally one of your biggest responsibilities, to push it off to the people and say, you know what, people should go and advocate. It's like, we are. We are. It's not a people aren't doing their job issue. It's these committees aren't doing their job. And we know that, right? We know that Board of Public Works wasn't willing to do crap. Okay? Not until one special committee that actually gave a damn. Okay? The Commission on Disability. That pressured and applied internal pressure to force the issue of an order on violations of the blockade of public right of way. And, you know, I'm just sick and tired of hearing that it's an advisory. That's belittling. Okay? The neighborhood councils can do so much more. They can come together as a body if they wanted to and put forward litigation. That is one option they do have. Those letters lead up to litigation. That's the whole reason for them. Those letters can and should lead up to litigation. That's how you really do it. That's what those letters actually stand for. You get the process going. And to not do those letters is a slap in the face, honestly, from the board members slapping themselves in the face. That's what it really is. To really sit there and have that perspective that those letters don't mean anything is utterly insane. It's utterly insane. Okay? They have real power. And I keep saying, just because you're one neighborhood council doesn't mean that you're the only one that's facing very similar issues. It might look a little different in each of the neighborhoods, but it's really the same issue more or less. You have housing units that are not doing their federal, that are not meeting their federal obligation to have certain number of units specifically designated for people that have disabilities, and keeping them as such, and providing access via parking lots and other access points under compliance as such. That is an issue. That is an issue. Okay? That is an issue. And specifically, it's an issue that they can address. They do have real power on that. These letters do mean something. And it's the problem that they don't do them. That's the problem, okay? And then we get into this realm of, okay, we have faith in the neighborhood council, okay? That part I can 100% say with confidence. I don't have absolute faith with the perspective and mindset that many of these board members have. And nowhere else in America, by the way, has this level of authority and power at the constituent level. The only other time that you see this level of concentrated power directly in the hands of the people, and publicly so, the closest resemblance that we have to it is HOAs. And HOAs are crap. Okay? HOAs are total dog crap. With extremely, very nuanced, very, very specific ones. For the most part, they're crap. Whereas neighborhood councils are, at the very least, elected and far more democratic. Nowhere else in America do they have this level of independence, power, and real ability to make long-lasting change. Nowhere else. Literally, other parts of America are trying to replicate the neighborhood councils in their city. Literally, right now, that is a huge, huge push happening all across the United States. Literally, they're using the Los Angeles model everywhere else. And that's because it does work. People recognize it as such. And so it's very disheartening to hear this kind of crap. And ultimately, in my perspective, others that are trying to do the same will sort of pick up those, you know, just totally false and completely, you know, negative perspective on things and sort of defeat the whole purpose of the neighborhood council in the first place. If they're not going to advocate, okay, and I'm playing devil's advocate here on what the mayor's thinking about, right? Because I guarantee you this is exactly what the mayor's office is trying to do in order to thwart the real power and authority that the neighborhood councils have. She's thinking, right? Karen Bass is thinking, well, if these guys aren't even going to advocate, then what the hell do we even have them for? If they're not going to actually take action and write letters, then what the hell are they even for? Why are we giving these guys any money then? Just consolidate them back into the arm of the mayor directly and kick them all out. That's 100% what the mayor's office is thinking. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy afterwards. And it doesn't have to be that way. And again, nowhere else in America is there so much independent power directly in the hands of the people. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. And it scares corrupt people like Karen Bass because you can make some serious change as well as directly expose and contradict the messaging and the narrative that's coming from the council members that are saying XYZ is doing good and this agenda item and this motion is in favor and in a better light for the constituents, when in fact the neighborhood councils are the real frontline boots on the ground, and they're saying, actually, no. We listened and polled the opinion of our constituents, and they're actually saying no. Most of the time, they're actually saying hell no. So that's my rant, but at the end of the day, really, the neighborhood councils just got to step up, man. And of all of the periods of time to do it, now is the time. I mean, this is literally the easiest time for a neighborhood council to really make themselves be known. This is it. When a major budget crisis is going on, a huge racketeering scandal is happening directly by the hands of the mayor, and the feds are literally investigating the huge racketeering fraud perpetuated in big part by the mayor. I mean, this is it. This is the time for neighborhood councils to really step up. There's an old book that's called Johnny Can't Read. And seems like Johnny still can't read. I mean, they just have to write a letter. How scary is it to just get together and write a letter? I mean, they can put together and write an agenda, so we clearly know they can write. It's nothing crazy, you know. So anyway, that's all I got. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for showing up. And yeah, I'm gonna file another Karen Correct here for the fact that Jeff has been dodging the East Hollywood bid meetings for over a quarter now. And I mean, interestingly enough, the other thing I'll end with is this. California is one of the very few places in all of America where people that commit violations of the Brown Act are actually capable of being criminally prosecuted. In most other states in America, it's only civil action that occurs. In California, criminal action in addition to civil action is possible. Both are an option. That's exceptionally unique and damn good that it exists in California. And I do believe that people like Jeff, as well as countless other characters that we've seen, like Teresa from the previous Board of Public Works president, they should be charged for repeated violations. We have it on video. It doesn't matter that they happened when she was in power and she's no longer in power. The act still occurred. The Brown Act does not discriminate in that regard whatsoever. The act happened, and it specifically happened under public comment. Charge them, prosecute them. And if the city attorney won't, it needs to be escalated for the DA. And if the DA won't, then it needs to be escalated over to, I mean, so, all right, now I'm actually done. All right, see you guys.